couple of Steves down.
I can get started. We will let Jeff join in when he is available.
Recording in progress.
Yep. He said he's logging in here, so. We'll give him a minute. I'll get started with some of the formalities here. So I'd like to call this meeting to order of the regular scheduled board meeting of the Truckee Donner Public Utility District. It is Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. It is 6:04 p.m. And as permitted by the State of California Executive Order E09 N-29-20, the Truckee Donner PUD board meeting room will not be accessible to the public. Members of the board will be participating from separate remote locations. This meeting is accessible for public observation via Tahoe Truckee Media, online at the website on the agenda, or cable TV channel 18. Public comment will be accepted via email at shaunakulemeyer@tdpud.org and via Zoom on any item on the agenda until the board president closes the public comment on each item. So with that, we are called to order. We can have roll call. Shauna?
Thank you. Director Aguirre?
Here.
Here. Director Bender?
Finally here.
Director Harris?
I'm here.
Vice President Liliotis?
Here.
The record will indicate President Finn is absent.
All right. We will defer the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Brian Wright, any changes to the agenda tonight?
We have no changes this evening.
Excellent. Okay, we are on to item 5, public comment. This is time set aside for the public to address the board on any matter not on the agenda. Testimony related to any agendized matter should be addressed at the time that item is considered. Public may comment on any subject that is not on the agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, but speaker time may be reduced at discretion of the board president if there are a large number of speakers on any given subject. Shauna, is there any public comment tonight?
No.
All right, seeing as there is no public comment, we will close.
Vice President
I've got
Liliotis?
2 hands raised.
I have a couple hands now raised.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Trying to find my. All right, I can't really figure out who's.
Deidre Henderson and John
Okay.
Sorensen, and they can both address the board verbally.
Okay, we'll take Deidre first.
I believe I've unmuted.
We see you, Deidre, but I think you're muted still.
I've pressed unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh. Good. Good evening, board and staff. My name is Deirdre Henderson. I'm a full-time resident of Tahoe Donner, and I am also the co-leader of both 100% Renewable Truckee and the North Chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby. I'd like to talk to you tonight about the concept of urgency. To ensure that we're on the same page, let's agree that urgency means the quality or state of requiring immediate attention. And I'd like to refer to urgency in the context of 2 PUD matters where I think urgency is very relevant. First, the public safety outages announced by NV Energy. In my recollection, NV Energy first warned about these in June of 2019, over 2 years ago. Yet I attended a Zoom town council meeting on June 23rd of this year, at which Steve Poncelet spoke about public safety outages, and at which it was clear, for example, that community resource centers had not yet even been identified. So I have to ask, what's been going on for the past 2 years? Where has your sense of urgency been? And yes, I have seen the response that last year NV Energy did not include us in their possible public safety outage area. But frankly, anyone paying attention to climate change and wildfire would know that if we got a reprieve last year, we were lucky and we would not get reprieves forever. Why didn't the PUD, as the most important player in informing about and initiating community preparation for these outages, have a sense of urgency about this and use that 2 years to nail down community preparation? Why are we playing catch up now? Second, the United Nations IPCC released its latest report on climate change on August 10th. It's clear that climate scientists' predictions about climate change for the past 30 to 40 years have been, if anything, too conservative. Things are getting worse faster than originally thought and require our urgent attention if we are to avoid the worst effects of climate change. This summer should demonstrate that we are facing right now what Christiana Figueres, the diplomat who led the Paris Climate Accords, calls climate chaos. So our communities need to work on its renewable electricity and renewable energy goals, adopted almost 4 years ago now, is more urgent than ever. I'm glad that the PUD has finally produced a 5-year strategic plan. Thank you for that. But frankly, it's not enough. We need to be working toward 2030 and 2050 goals. We need to be planning with community committees and experts who can provide input and guidance on strategic electrification, getting off fossil fuels, and all the complexities involved in that. And we need to do this with urgency. I know that the board and staff have been busy with the public safety outage problem this summer, but ladies and gentlemen, what in God's name are we going to tell our children and grandchildren and future generations when we bequeath them the mess that we are heading toward? That we weren't clever enough to walk and chew gum at the same time? Urgency. I ask you, where is your sense of urgency? Thank you.
Thank you, Deidre. I believe we have, is it John Sorensen? Go ahead and unmute.
Yes, thank you. I'm John Sorensen. I live at 13759 Donner Pass Road. I'm one of your customers, a full-time Truckee resident. I'm co-leader of the 100% Renewable Citizens Group and a member of several other climate action organizations. And I've been at it for a while. Thank you for your service to our community and for the opportunity to provide some remarks this evening. I'm offering the following on behalf of our grandchildren, future generations, and all life. I think in 2017, nearly 4 years ago, the town of Truckee Council voted unanimously to approve a resolution that set several goals regarding doing our part as a community to combat the growing threat of climate change. Included in that resolution was the goal that we would have 100% clean, renewable electricity here in Truckee by 2030. We were excited that that progressive goal was set in line with many other California and nationwide communities committing to the same or similar objectives. Of course, that goal implied that this would be your goal too, as our community electricity utility provider. It's gratifying that, as I understand it, we are now receiving over 60% of our electricity from renewable sources. I also understand that within a year or two, we will be over 70%, and that maybe we will reach the 100% point before 2030. We certainly hope that that is the case. But I agree with Deidre. Your planning has to go beyond 5 years, and it should include collaborative efforts with all of Truckee's other service districts, businesses, and organizations. We need to be discussing how we electrify everything in our homes, businesses, facilities, and means of transportation. This certainly is not a time for business as usual. As aware citizens, we're here to help, whether it's educating our public as to the realness of climate chaos, what we can each do to reduce our fossil fuels consumption, and basically whatever it takes. We want Truckee to be a community leader in this regard. We want you to be bold in your thinking, decision-making, and directed actions thereof. This request is literally deadly serious. We are all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Do we have any other hands raised?
No, Vice President Laliotis.
Great, thank you, Shauna. With that, we will close public comment and move on to director updates. Kim.
Good evening, everybody. Deirdre and John, thank you so much for your comments. It's always good to have the input from the local community on what you're passionate about. And I can definitely tell that you're passionate about the 100% renewables and with the PUD doing the right thing on all those avenues. The other thing I wanted to mention tonight is that there are 2 more employees that I've heard that have left the district, longtime employees, and I just wanted to wish them well. Craig Beatty left, and I guess he and his wife have retired, so they are off on retirement land, so good luck to Craig and his wife. And then Sana Schlosser, she has decided to leave the Public Utility District, and I wish her in her future, good luck in her future endeavors. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Joe, anything? Joe, any director comments? All right. Take that as a no, Jeff.
Yeah, no comments from me tonight. Thanks.
All right, just a couple comments. Just a shout out to all of our public officials, law enforcement, and fire personnel, whether they're local, state level. This week has been a very trying week for those people, as well as our citizens and communities, especially on the South Shore. I think I've been privy to a lot of the meetings going on because our district in Tahoe City is involved in some of the current evacuation orders. And it is amazing to see the public collaboration and the effort and hard work that these public agencies are putting in to protect the communities in South Lake Tahoe and protect the communities of the West Shore of Lake Tahoe as well. They're doing an amazing job of steering that fire away from public areas and preserving structures and the livelihoods of those communities. So, and then locally, we had that structure fire on Donner Lake the other day, and just another amazing job by our resources, both by air and on the ground, to protect the surrounding forests and the surrounding structures and keep that fire contained and not create another situation like they're seeing in South Shore. So really want to thank all of our public service providers and fire protection personnel, law enforcement, and all of the residents who are being so patient after being displaced out of their homes, not knowing the status of whether they have a house or not. I just feel for these people, and hopefully we can all come back together and learn lessons from all of these issues going on around us right now, and be prepared is the key. So thanks to everyone who's involved with all of these current public issues. With that, we will close director updates unless Joe had something. Okay. All right. General manager update. Brian.
Oh, Tony, I thought maybe on the phone, maybe we couldn't understand because my sound here was kind of blaring on me and I couldn't get the words right. I said, is he talking to me or what? I'm sorry, I did not have anything. I think I'm okay now. We turned it down a little bit.
Yeah, we got you loud and clear. Thanks, Joe.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Thank you, Vice President Laliotis. Yeah, I have a few updates for the board. I'm gonna kind of read off some of my notes because it's a little bit lengthy this evening. I wanted to touch base with everyone and kind of give a report out on our utilities deliveries. The electric side, electric usage here within our service territory year to date, so that's up to July, compared to last year is up 6%. We'll see how that levels out over the year or the course of the rest of the year. On the water side, we've seen similar patterns. This August, we're kind of back to normal because, again, our water usage here locally is driven highly by or predominantly by irrigation. And so August is usually one of our larger months. And so this year is no exception, but we'll start to see what happens with the fall here with the projected dry weather. On the billing and accounts receivable, we've been reporting out status on the past due amounts, the arrearages. We've seen a slight increase for the month of August, so up to September 1. Our total past due amounts currently are just under 400,000. It peaked earlier this year at just under 450,000, but we saw a slight rise again in August, in particular with the 90-day past due accounts. So we're up to just under 400 customers at 90 days past due, with a total of about $220,000. Reminder to the community throughout California that the governor's executive order that put a moratorium on disconnections for past due utility billing, in particular potable water, that governor's executive order expires at the end of the month, September 30th. So at that point, water agencies and electric agencies across the state will be working on decision-making there. We do have the customer relief program still in place. The board approved additional funding for that last year. To date, I believe we've distributed just under $120,000 in relief funding across 365 customers. So there are folks using it. We would encourage folks to contact the district to look for payment programs or relief programs, especially for those in that 90-day past due, because those amounts can climb quite quickly and get ominous. And as these programs expire under the executive order, there's going to be some challenges there. There are several different relief programs, potential relief funding from state and federal programs that the district is participating in. At this point, I think we're at this kind of data collection statewide. So there's surveys through the State Water Board and through other energy collaboratives. So we don't have numbers or dollar amounts, but the district is participating in that and going to take advantage of whatever relief funding our community can benefit from. On the board meetings, this evening is scheduled to be our last Zoom meeting. Yay, we're going to get back to normal. We're looking forward to that. I think we all are. We plan to cancel the second meeting in September. That was originally scheduled as a special meeting for September 15th. Staff has no critical board items to present to the board for consideration. And as I understand it, 2 of the board members may be out of town that week. So that special board meeting that was previously earmarked for our budget workshop will carry forward the budget workshop on October 6th. And so that will be our first in-person meeting here at the district office, with one caveat. And I want to make sure that everyone kind of understands, and we'll track this as it progresses. But the executive order that provided for the remote and Zoom meetings expires on September 30th. And so our first meeting after that is scheduled to be in person. It doesn't mean that something may change between now and then. And so we will keep the board apprised of any changes that happen at the state level. But at this point, we're planning to have our meeting in person here at the district office. A couple of updates on the key initiatives in our strategic plan. The community broadband initiative, we have received great feedback and interest in participation for that committee. And so we have what we envision as a full committee established, and we'll start reaching out to those community members to schedule our first meeting. So look for that in the next month. And then with the district still continues to try to develop a full committee for the 100% renewable and local clean generation initiative. So we'll again begin to reach out to more interested parties and see if we can get a committee collaborated and put together for that initiative. couple other key items that are happening and underway. We did have a kickoff meeting in our recruitment process for the new water utility director and new IT director. We're using Alliance Consulting Services for that recruitment. So look for more information on that in the coming months. And we also had a kickoff meeting for our compensation study for the unrepresented employees here at the district. So one of the provisions that the board requested prior to the end of this year was for the district to engage in a compensation study. And so we've launched that, and we'll have information that we can include in this budget process and some of the staff development in the future. That's all I have for now. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, we will now move on to the consent calendar. We have items 8 through 14. Is there any public comment on the consent calendar tonight?
No, Vice President Laliotis.
Thank you. Okay, any items or board comments, any items that the board would like to pull or discuss or have staff give presentations on?
I have a couple questions, but I don't think,
Okay.
and you can decide if we need the presentation or not. But in one of them, in number 9, the consideration of a contract with a Diversified Systems International, in the agenda packet, it talked about the IT budget includes $257,000 for IT specific capital projects. And it sounds like this is going to eat up about, $34,000 of it. Are there any specific capital projects that aren't going to happen, or you just kind of reworking it?
Sorry for the sirens in the background. I can answer that question. So we've, on some of the capital projects with the IT department, with the transition out of our former IT director and GIS coordinator, some of our projects we put on pause just to allow our staff to address some of the cybersecurity issues that have popped up recently across all utilities across the country, and then really focus on maintenance and resiliency of our current systems. What we would do is come back to the board and part of our budget process, account for things that weren't completed in 2021 and include those in our 2022 and 23 outlook.
Okay. That if Michael liked these words, that appears reasonable. So, and then the other question I had is the conflict of interest code. I know we got a copy of the district conflict of interest code, and it goes through all the different positions. And one of the positions at the very end is the consultants and new positions. Do we have any consultants that currently report in on the Form 700?
Yes, Director Harris. In particular, Steve Gross. He fills out a 700 form, and other consultants may or may need to, depending on their types of services.
Okay, well, that I know Steve is actually listed as the attorney on the list, so that makes sense. But any other consultants, and how is the determination of which consultants would do the 700 and which wouldn't?
Steve, would you like me to kick that over to you?
Sure. Director Harris, good question. The Political Reform Act and the regulations require those individuals and consultants who make recommendations that are oftentimes carried forward or accepted by the board. So those folks who oftentimes have a direct reporting relationship to the board where their recommendations would be accepted. Most consultants are working primarily through staff, and then their recommendations come to the board. So that's why we rarely, I don't know if we've ever had a consultant required to complete the Form 700. The conflict of interest code and the requirement to list the consultants is part of the FPPC's model form. So they require that provision in each and every one of conflict of interest codes adopted by every agency that's required to adopt one.
Gotcha.
I hope that's responsive.
And out of curiosity, would the recommendations made to the board, would those be either in closed session or in open session or only in open session?
Could be made at any point in time, at either.
Okay, but there at this point though, you guys there are no consultants who have been requested to complete a 700 as part of their work for the agency right now.
None currently right now.
And that's up to the general manager of who would complete one. Is that my understanding? Is that correct?
I believe that's what the code says. I don't have it. I could scroll down to that.
I can, what's in the package, and I'll read the little statement. It says the general manager may determine in writing that a particular consultant or new position, although a quote designated position, is hired to perform a range of duties that is limited in scope and thus is not required to fully comply with the disclosure requirements described in this section. Such written documentations shall include a description of the consultant's duties, and based upon that description, a statement of the extent of the disclosure requirements. The general manager's determination is a public record and shall be retained for public inspection in the same manner and location as this conflict of interest code, government section 81008.
Yeah, I see that now. Thank you for reading that. I appreciate it. Yes, so the answer to your question is yes, that is a determination made by the general manager.
Okay.
And to be documented in writing.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the consent calendar from the board? All right. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval of the consent calendar tonight.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion by Jeff, second by Joe. Sean, a roll call, please.
Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Bender?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Vice President Laliotis?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to routine business. Item 15, fund balances for the month ended June 30, 2021, and disbursements for the month of July 31st, 2021. Any public comment on item 15?
No, Vice President Laliotis.
All right, seeing no public comment. Any director comments on item 15? All right. Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Move the report.
I'll second that.
Motion by Joe, second by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
I'm
opposed?
sorry, Tony, roll call, please.
Oh.
Yeah, with electronic.
Roll call. Oh,
Sorry about that.
That's right. Sorry. I was going old school.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're rolling well.
Take back your eyes. And Sean, a roll call, please.
Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Bender?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Vice President Laliotis?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Item 16, approve the minutes of August 4 and August 18, 2021. Any public input on the minutes for those two dates?
No, sir.
All right. Any board comments on changes on the minutes for August 4, August 18? All right. Seeing none, do I have a motion?
So moved for the minutes.
I'll
All
second.
right. Motion by Jeff, second by Kim. Shauna, roll call, please.
Thank you, Director Aguero,
Yes,
Director Bender,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes,
Vice President Laliotis.
Yes.
Thank you.
did we pay the bills? I just approved the report, David.
Well, we took 15A and B at the same time, so yes, you approved the bills.
Okay, good.
Okay, I believe that is it for the night, and we are adjourned. So good night, and thank you, everyone. Be safe. Take care of your families.
Thank you.
Night. Thanks.
Good
Good night,
good
everybody.
night, everybody.
Good night.
night, everybody's right.